What's good, Mark?
Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Good, good.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me. I like your fire.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great, right? Really adds to the whole aesthetic.
Yeah.
I just wanted to start off just by saying a huge congratulations on your special, Life Begins.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Is there like a cutoff where you have to I don't know, where you could say congratulations for the special?
Yeah, exactly, right? It's almost like Happy New Year. It's got to stop in February.
Exactly. So
I'll take it, though.
100%. And also, Mazel Tov on the kid.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That's 10 months. That's definitely too late.
So I kind of wanted to start off the interview just by asking, so what was your whole journey towards actually going into comedy?
I used to be an athlete. I played 2 years of junior college basketball. I played, a ton of different sports throughout my whole life. I was varsity, I think, in like 4 or 5 sports in high school. So that was always a big part of my life. And I got hurt in college and kind of, I think, realized that I was just a flashy asshole on the basketball court. So most of what I was doing was for audience reaction anyway. So I always fancied myself as kind of funny. I was like, all right, let me try to make this work. Yeah.
Absolutely. So at what point in your life were you like, oh, like I've got a knack for this?
I mean, I guess always, right? Like, it's kind of how I got away with anything when I was a kid. And like, I was always an asshole in class and disruptive, and teachers both thought I was smart and irritating at the same time. So it was just, being funny was just how I grew up with all of my friends,
Absolutely. And then at what point were you like, oh, I'm actually going to go try this stuff on stage?
I think when I was in college, I first started doing I did an improv class when I was at Rockland Community College, and I was playing basketball, and I really enjoyed that. I'd never considered doing comedy or even knowing that there's a career in that. So I was just like, oh, this is fun, kind of a easy way to break up the time and during the day and get an easy A or whatever. But that was super fun. And then when I went away to school, my second 2 years, I joined what the fuck is it called? It's like a sketch TV comedy show kind of thing, but only for the university. So it would it would be broadcast to like 11 TVs at 4 a.m. on a Saturday, and hopefully some of your classmates watched it. But that's what I did first in college, and then afterwards I just started doing stand up.
Absolutely. And I mean, I could kind of see that with the videos that you're kind of putting up with regards to like that crazy right-wing person and like the Ellen stuff, which is like hilarious, by the way. Have you ever thought about actually like going out on stage and like and playing those characters like on stage?
I have never considered that. No, I mean, who knows? Maybe. I don't know. I don't fancy myself as much of a character guy on stage. I kind of, I barely have a grip on my own, on my own character.
Absolutely. And I mean, the bigger question is, would you work for Ellen?
Would I? In a heartbeat. Are you kidding? I would take the abuse. I don't give a shit. That paycheck and health insurance, I would easily work for Ellen. I would be her toilet paper.
Same.
Yeah.
And then kind of like moving towards like the Comedy Cellar, what was your whole journey with actually getting into the Comedy Cellar?
So that's actually what I based my special around, because the story was just kind of pretty ridiculous and it involved my comedy heroes. So the Comedy Cellar is the best club in New York City, and in my opinion, the country. Maybe there's some road rooms that are really great, and then obviously the Comedy Store in LA. But the Comedy Cellar, to me, I don't know, it's just where all my favorites kind of came up, and I've just revered it for a really long time. So I would hang there sporadically, but not too often, because I didn't want to overstay my welcome before I started working there. And I happened to be hanging out this one day. I was with my buddy Chris DiStefano, who's a fucking hilarious comedian. I'm sure you know who he is. And he was supposed to open for Colin Quinn, who was working out his Red State, Blue State one-man show. And unfortunately, but fortunately for me, Colin had a heart attack that day. And so they needed coverage, and I was there. And Liz, the manager, asked if I could fill in. I ended up having a really great set, and that kind of set in motion the audition. And I mean, the audition night is its own separate fucking nerve-wracking nightmare.
So, like, when it comes to the whole thing of like the comedians at the beginning of your special, where they kind of like
Mhm.
chastising you, did you ask
Yeah.
them to do that, or was that just a thing of like, oh, like say some nice stuff about me, and they would just like kind of roasted you?
Oh, no, no. I asked them for that. That would be hilarious if I'm like, hey guys, want to be in my special? And they're like, yeah, only if we get to say the truth.
That's
But no,
brilliant.
I wanted it to be like that because, you know, I'm pretty self-effacing, I think, and I hope I'm self-aware. And I think, you know, what I'm trying to go for is comedy all the time. So while I'm building it up as like this hero's journey through this story, this, you know, crazy circumstance that just led me to get an audition at the Cellar, I also had to add an element that just cuts me right the fuck down because also who cares? Nobody cares.
Absolutely. And like, is Esty really as like antagonizing as she really like seems? You know, like in all like the things like crashing and everything.
She's not antagonistic. She's very straightforward though. She's like, you know, like ice cold, straightforward, will tell you exactly what the fuck she thinks with no remorse or, you know, sympathy. She's just like, listen, this is what I think. You're either ready, I like you, or you're not. Get out.
Did you like ever get any of that?
Yeah, I mean, my first when I auditioned, it took like she didn't see me. So I did my set and I had a really good set. And I was following Kevin Brennan, who's another funny comic, and he went a little dirty, but you know, I'm fine with that. I'm pretty dirty. So I went up and had a really good set, came upstairs feeling really good about myself. And SD wouldn't talk to me for like 20, 25 minutes. So she was walking around the club, like shaking hands, kissing babies, and like, you know, just totally icing me out. And I was like, holy fuck, what, like, you know, I guess I didn't get it. I don't know what's happening. And Greg Fitzsimmons, who I hadn't met at that point, actually sat with me and was like, yeah, dude, this is brutal. This is crazy. And finally, SD came over. He got up and she kind of sat down and was like, I might have you do it again in her Israeli accent. And I'm like, what? What? And she's like, I might have you do it again. And then she started talking about Kevin Brennan and like the jokes he chose to do and started kind of like, I told him not to do those jokes on early shows. I don't know why he did that. That really annoyed me. And then she's like, all right, send in your avails. And I was like, okay. And then she's like, all right, see ya. And then she got up and walked out. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And then like 10 comics came over to me and said, congratulations. And that's how I realized I ended up getting passed.
100%. You know, like actually the only time I've ever seen you is like at the Cellar. So I've been to like a whole bunch of the New York comedy clubs. Like I've been to like Gotham, I've been to Eastville, I've been to the New York Comedy Club. And
Oh, nice.
so it was actually by pure coincidence because I didn't know who you were at the time. I actually only discovered like your comedy when I was at the Cellar. And I think that Hassan Minaj was performing one Sunday, and I didn't realize that we actually had to like book to go to the Cellar. And
Oh, yeah.
you know, we had to go to the Olive Tree Cafe because Hassan Minaj was sold out to actually book for the following night. And I saw Esty at that back table, and like Amy Schumer was there, and like Mateo Lane and everything. I was like, holy shit, it's like the back table from the Comedy Cellar, like what you see in all the movies and everything.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. You know, I remember going in there as a fan before I started doing comedy and just seeing those people, you know, at that table. It's both like, it's amazing and terrifying at the same time.
Absolutely. What was it like when you actually first got invited to go to like that back table?
I mean, you know, it was like anything else. I feel like at that point I knew everybody and I had kind of waited a long amount, you know, a good amount of time to do the audition. So I think I felt kind of comfortable, but you know, you're only comfortable working there when you've actually sustained working there. So, you know, a lot of people get passed, not a lot of people stay.
Absolutely. How long is that whole like audition process?
I mean, it's technically like a 5-minute set, but you know, for the most part, you're also like, you're kind of continuing to audition when you first work there. You know, you better continue to do well, or else you're not going to be there for long.
Absolutely. Is there anything like kind of that's off bounds for you to actually like speak about?
I'm sorry.
Is there anything that's kind of like off bounds that you won't speak about?
Nothing that I like. Nothing that I have like a moral stance against. I'm not necessarily the most political comedian just because I haven't figured out a way to frame it in a funny way. So, and there's just way better people at that than I am. So I stick to kind of what I'm good at, which is, you know, I think personal, revealing, and kind of filthy, dirty shit. You know, it's like I'm a narcissist, self-admittedly, and it's just that's kind of what my act is. So I feel like I have some social nods in there and some maybe political leanings on some jokes, but not like, you know, I'm trying to hit them from every angle. It's like I don't do that kind of comedy, I guess.
Absolutely. So kind of like on that note, how do you like consume the world around you? Like how do you actually do your whole writing process?
My writing process is more or less in the moment. Like, so I'll say something in conversation or even on podcast or whatever. And then I'll, you know, try to remember what I just said, jot that down in my notes. And then this is ridiculous, but like I try to memorize as much as possible, take it to stage. I usually forget around 70% of what I wrote. Out of sheer fear and backing myself into a corner, I kind of come up with funny stuff, or I bomb. It depends. And then if I come up with funny stuff in that moment, that's when I go back, rewrite that down, do the same exact process. Try to memorize, forget, out of fear, build. And it's like, you know, it's just kind of an ongoing cycle until I have a chunk of material.
How many times do you actually have to do a joke that bombs before you actually like chuck the joke?
It depends how near and dear it is. You know, if it's a subject that I don't give a shit about, I can do it once, you know, or in the middle of it and give up. I've given up on jokes midway and been like, well, that's your lifespan. That's it.
And then like, if you had to describe one story, like the craziest story that you've ever had on stage, what would that be?
I mean, at this point, I've had so many. I've gotten into near fist fights with club owners. I've gotten, you know, I've gotten into actual fist fights with audience members. I guess that's, you know, I've been performing for 600 cops that were furious. Like, you know, it's just like, it's relentless. You're constantly put in positions where it's going to be uncomfortable. And, you know, even as you jump levels, it's like, well, then you get a private gig and it's a ton of money, but you're performing in horribly unideal, you know, circumstance with like, you know, a bright cafeteria, no microphone, and 800, you know, billionaires staring at you and thinking you're worthless. But I got into a fight once in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I was performing and there was some guy who was hammered drunk. You know, they always are. He was like, I think it was his 40th birthday. And he kept yelling about that throughout everybody's set. And it was just a ongoing irritant for everybody. So finally, by the time I got up there, I had enough. I kind of immediately went to kill, you know, usually to kill him, not in terms of killing and be funny. But like, I immediately was like, fuck you, you piece of shit. You're taking all the attention. Everybody else came here for a show. You think your 40th birthday is something. You're pathetic. You're in some bar basement, you know, blah, blah, blah. Going off. And so finally he like looked sad and I was like, all right, like, what am I doing? I'm like ruining this man's birthday for a free comedy show. This is horrible. So I just, I was like, you know what, man, I'm sorry. Yeah, whatever. I'm out. I ended up walking, you know, hanging the mic up, walking away. And as I turned my camera off, so I had recorded this whole thing. As I turned my camera off, I heard, Mike, look out. And this guy charged me, and he was so drunk and dead on his feet, though, that I like immediately jacked him up like an offensive lineman and just took him down to the ground. It was quick work. He was so drunk.
Holy shit. That's crazy. Wait, like, what is the comedy owner or like, I don't know, the person who organized you, like, what do they say about that? Or they just like, nice job, like the guy deserved it?
Yeah, honestly, I got a standing ovation. I left. I was leaving and they just stood up and were like, hey man, that was pretty awesome. And I was like, cool, I'm getting recognized for my post-comedy fights, not the actual jokes.
That's crazy. That's brilliant. And then is there anyone kind of like in the New York comedy community where like if they had to walk out on stage and then the rest of like the comedians go, oh fuck, like this fucking guy. Is there like anyone like that, like in the New York comedy community?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of people like that. I mean, Michelle Wolf is like that, where she's constantly got new. It's unbelievable. Dave Attell, every single comedian runs down to watch him. He's so brilliant, always has new shit. Guys that I am like behind, but always looked up to are like Dan Soder, Joe List, Mark Norman, Sam Morril. Like, you know, I started with Chris DiStefano, and I love watching him. He's so fucking funny. You know, Brendan Sagalow is a new guy that's really, really funny. He was in the opening of my special with his sleeves off like a fucking maniac. Like Mike Feeney, my podcast co-host, he's great. There's almost too many to name, man. There's so many good comics. Kurt Metzger also. He's not in New York anymore. He's in LA, but he's one of my favorite comedians.
Absolutely. And then do you prefer to like hang out around comedians or just like regular people?
I mean, I have a good group of friends. Like, I think it's both. I love comedians, but also my friends from home are like my brothers. I grew up with guys, and I've known guys since I was 10 years old, and I still talk to them every single day. So to me, I'm just as comfortable hanging out with them, if not more, than comics,
Absolutely. And then, you come from like a very Irish type family. What's the sentiment with regards to like being a comedian?
Oh, well, the sentiment was cool that you're doing that. And then as soon as I started making money, 2 of my uncles started doing stand-up, and then my dad went back to acting. So it's like, it's insane, dude. It's like, that's like classic Irish support. It's not like, oh, good for you. It's, oh, if this dickhead can do it, I can fucking do it.
That's crazy. And then like your parents, like how did they feel about it?
They're both fine. My mom has always been totally supportive. She's an artist, so she completely gets the compulsion to do something like this and, express yourself in front of a group of people. My dad, he used to be an actor. I think he gets it. He moderately supports it. We have kind of a weird relationship, him and I, but I think as far as just generic support, he's got it.
Absolutely. Oh, so it actually comes from like, you come from a bit of like an entertainment type background.
Oh, I'm sorry?
You come from like an entertainment type background.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, my older sister is a voiceover artist. She's really successful. And my younger sister is a audiobook narrator. So also a voiceover artist. And she's really successful. And both of them are like incredible musicians. I'm sitting here doing dick jokes. I'm low hanging fruit shit compared to what they're both capable of doing.
Absolutely. I come from like a South African Jewish family. So, I mean, in theory, it really should be like accountant, then like comedian, and then lawyer. But like comedian's like right there at the bottom. So,
yeah, 100%. 100%. Sometimes justifiably so.
So like, having a kid now, do you think that that's going to change your comedy at all? Like kind of a little bit down the line?
I mean, I think it's going to change what I talk about just because I talk about my life, and my life is obviously going to take, several dramatic turns. It already has. I was ready to go with a full hour, maybe around like 18 months after my first release. So I had turned over material pretty quickly, but then my wife, got pregnant. She came down with a touch of pregnancy. And, and so I had to throw out like, 25, 30 minutes. And, honestly, it was the best thing. All my stuff as a new dad and the pregnancy and stuff like that. I'm proud of that. Probably even more so than any of my other shit.
Absolutely. How long did it actually take you to make that special?
In terms of the filming or in terms of the developing?
No, like actually like writing the material.
It took me 2 years.
Sure.
Yeah, 2 years, which, I mean, it took me fucking 9 years for the first one. So
that's so, insane.
Yeah, I guess I'm getting a little faster, which is good.
100%. Like kind of looking back at it now, with all these comedians like Mark Normand, Andrew Schultz, Sam Morril, like they all released their specials on YouTube, and even like Jim Gaffigan is like releasing his tonight on YouTube. Do you think that this is like kind of, do you think that this is kind of like the trend where maybe comedy might go with regards to releasing specials on YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it must be. I guess, at this point, I mean, I don't know why Jim Gaffigan doing it is interesting because it seems like he would get a payout from one of the big streaming services, but who knows, maybe he has a bunch of hours already up there and they feel that they're, well equipped with Jim Gaffigan content. So why not fucking put one out on your own and continue to tour and develop new stuff?
Absolutely. Do you think it's definitely helped you with exposure, releasing your special on YouTube?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I like right when I put it out, I think I was able to tour once before, the pandemic shut everything down. But I was able to tour, and the one time that I toured, I sold out my first comedy club ever. So, and everybody was there you know, specifically to see me based on like the special, based on the podcast, all that stuff. So I think, or I hope it'll at least, you know, help put some butts in the seats.
Absolutely. And then kind of like on that note of like the whole thing of like quarantining and like with the virus and everything, how have you been like spending your time, especially not being able to go and do and like perform comedy?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm doing all those videos and trying to keep as productive and busy as humanly possible, while also being a now 24 hours a day dad. Whereas before, you know, you have a little break at night where I'd head out, release some steam, get angry at some strangers, or make them laugh, whichever they choose, and you know. But now it's, you know, it's all the time, constantly, and it's been great. It's been awesome to see my kid go from like a 6 to 7 month old mush, couldn't do shit, you know, to now being almost like, it's like crazy. He's being a human being.
Absolutely. And then like, where do you think like the future of comedy kind of lies?
I mean, I don't know, man. It's weird. I guess for the immediate future, people are going to start doing drive-through comedy shows and some more outdoor venues and stuff like that, which, you know, that's cool. That's cool for people that have a draw. I don't know if I'm there quite yet, but, you know, I'm doing a comedy club in July. I'm doing another one in Florida in September. I'm going to try to line up more road dates and stuff like that. But, you know, I hope it goes back to normal sometime. You know, I love doing sets every single night and running around New York and, you know, doing 4 in a night, being late, then catching up, all that. It's just so exciting in that city. And, you know, if that's completely over, man, that would be fucking brutal.
Yeah. Have you ever done any of like these Zoom comedy shows?
I haven't done stand-up, but I've done like this. Like I do podcasts and I do, you know, I think I judged Roast Battle, which was kind of fun, but also brutal. It's just people now saying mean things to each other without an audience to justify the jokes. It's like without the audience, you're just saying his mom died of cancer. That's not.
So it's just in bad taste now.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't recommend these Zoom comedy shows. Like I did one a couple of weeks ago, and it's just kind of like, it's very weird, just kind of just doing it in front of comedians as opposed to actually doing it like in front of an audience. Which is kind of strange.
Yeah, it's just you know, I don't know. I'm a momentum-based comedian, and I try to be in the moment as much as possible and include the crowd or include what's happening or how I'm feeling. So to do that long-winded shit to a Zoom and then at the end just be like waiting for nobody to laugh, it's like, oh, that's so embarrassing.
Yeah, it's just like one flat out silence. That's exactly what it is. It's just like silence. And then when it comes to you perform for the troops, right? Yeah.
2 years ago, I guess now.
How was that experience?
That was awesome, man. It was, I mean, you know, one of those things where it completely shatters what you thought was reality and the empathy you thought you could feel for people, and, you know, all of it. It was so crazy because, you know, every single night we had the best audience ever because they were so appreciative that we came all that way to perform for them. They, you know, they're obviously there all the time eating the same stuff, you know, talking to the same people. So to have an influx of like new performers that, you know, some of them are from like 18-year-old kids from Kansas, and they're like, "You're from New York?" And it's like, yeah, man, like that's the big deal. Not even the comedy, the fact that we've been in New York, you know.
100%. Did you get like recognized by any of the troops?
Yeah, a couple of them were like podcast fans, which was cool. And I mean, you know, that means a lot, that whatever dumb shit I say into a microphone helps these guys and women, you know, cope with what they have to go through on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And then kind of like moving to like the family life and everything, did you and your wife kind of agree on like your kid's name, or was it like a big
So I swear to God, so my son's name is Crew, which he got that name because my favorite movie is a 1986 BMX biking movie named Rad, and the main character's name is Crew Jones. And I threw out that suggestion as a joke. Like I truly was like, "Oh, what about Crew?" And my wife's super Italian, so I thought they were gonna like try to push Cologeno or some horse shit. And but to my surprise, all of her young cousins were like, "Oh my God, baby Crew, I love it, baby Crew." And it just caught like wildfire, and then they all pushed for it, so we got it.
Absolutely. If you had to name your kid where, like, hypothetically, it would only have that name for, like, its childhood, what do you think you would
Yeah.
name it?
Oh, that's a good Bear, maybe.
And last name
Maybe.
or middle name?
I feel
It
like
wasn't
Bear Cannon is a pretty strong name. Maybe we should have done that anyway.
It's pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
it's pretty badass. And then kind of just to like wrap this whole thing up, you know, what if you had to recommend one meal from the Olive Tree Cafe, what would it be?
Oh my God, what a great question. You know what my favorite thing was? So everything's good, right? If you get everything is so goddamn good. I typically get the Greek salad with like 3 grilled chicken skewers since I'm trying to watch my figure. But what I would really recommend are the lamb chops, and I'm not even a lamb guy. The lamb chops with mashed potatoes and grilled veggies is like, every time I want to treat myself, I go to the Olive Tree and I slam that down. It is so fucking good.
Absolutely. Well, anyways, Mark, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your golf game.
All right, man. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks.